everyone, so today is the 23rd of June. It's less than a week since my last video, but I decided to try and catch up on some of the tags because I've got really far behind. I've got so far behind on everything. I need to try and play a bit of catch up. I'm in my pyjamas because it's 9:45 in the morning and I'm having a bit of a lazy day. I don't have work till 3. I didn't sleep particularly well last night, so I look a bit rubbish. And I keep sniffing because of my hay fever. I've taken hay fever tablets, so hopefully they're going to kick in soon. I think I've got 4 tags written down on my iPad to do. Let's have a look. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yes, I have 4. So hopefully that will get me caught up a little bit. I've already done, I think, 2 tags previously. So that would be 6. I don't know how many tags are out there, so we'll soon find out. Go away, cat. Both the cats, as soon as I get the camera out, both cats come over and want to play. So I have a few plans for other videos as well in the future. I want to do like a Stitchy spot tour once I've kind of sorted my house out. Which hopefully will be easier because I got a brand new phone yesterday. I tried sewing. I didn't try sewing my Stitchy spot. I tried doing a Stitchy spot video a few months back, and my iPad wouldn't allow me to do it. And I had the iPhone 5C, which had no memory at all, so I couldn't do it on that either. But I've got the iPhone SE yesterday, which has twice as much memory. I don't know what I'm going to do with it all. It also means I don't have to delete 5 photos before I can take another one. And so hopefully I'll be able to do it on that. It's very pretty though. It's rose gold. And I'm very pleased I chose this one. But I was also most impressed because I took out a new contract. I've got 3 contracts on my agreement or whatever, one for me, one for my partner, and one for my dad. And we took out the one for my partner a couple of months back, and they asked where I work because Vodafone do 20% off your contract if you work in certain places. And I work for Somerset County Council as a cleaner, but I still work for the council. And they weren't on the list when we took out my partner's contract, but they are now. So my contract's nearly £8 cheaper than I was expecting. So that was an added bonus. That's an extra £8 a month to spend on Stitchy stuff. So I'll start with the tags because I've got quite a few to do. I'm a bit disorganised this morning. I'm disorganised every morning, which is why I don't normally do videos in the mornings. And the cat is trying to drink my coffee and knock my laptop off, which both combined wouldn't be too good. So I'm going to start with the Pearl tag by the Queen of Starts. And the first question is, what irritates you the most about cross stitch in general and why? I don't know. Backstitch? Am I allowed to choose backstitch? Does that count? If it does, backstitch. I'm actually trying to find some patterns at the moment that I really like that don't have backstitch in them. Although I've got like a list of what's being stitched next and so on and so forth. And at the end of this week, the end of this month, sorry, because money's all messed up at the moment. My partner's just started a new job. So I've got to be careful. So at the end of this month, I'm gonna finish kitting up a birth sample of my friend because that's got to be done by November, and Emerald City for myself because you know. And then at the end of next month, I'm going to buy one of the Bobby Threads cut throughs to do for my daughter for Christmas, either Fairy Hill or Princess Castle, unless there's one released because they're releasing some new ones this summer, or for the summer collection. And so it'll either be Fairy Hill or Princess Castle, unless they release one that I prefer more, or that my daughter prefers more, because I think I'm going to have to get her to choose. And they have the World Supply of Backstitch, so I don't even know why I'm going to do it to myself. I don't think my peacock's ever going to be finished because the sheer amount of backstitch it's got to do on it. So I think I'd definitely choose backstitch. What designer irritates you the most? Why? Bobby threads. I love body threads. But there's so much backstitch. Like, I know that if there wasn't the backstitch, then they wouldn't look as good. But it's the backstitch. What stitch irritates you and why? Backstitch, because I hate it. I don't even know why I hate it so much. I just find it really boring, and if I have a big piece that's finished and all that's left to do is the backstitch, then I see it kind of as a finish, because the stitches are finished, the cross stitches are finished, and I don't want to do the backstitch. I've never not done the backstitch on something, but I don't want to do the backstitch. What irritates you about non-stitchers? They keep telling me I waste all my money on cross-stitch stuff, and that I should be doing things other than cross-stitching. But they don't understand. I should be doing housework instead of cross-stitch, or I should be cooking instead of cross-stitch, or I should get a full-time job instead of cross-stitching, which is never going to happen because I've got too much cross-stitch stuff. What irritates you about other stitches? I don't know. I don't think there's anything that irritates me about other stitches. No, I can't think of anything. Valentine. Now Valentine's trying to eat the iPad. I had a very strange cat. I need my coffee this morning to wake me up. Right, that's that tag done. The next one is Tracy's talking tag. So, say these words. Aunt, root, wash, oil, theatre, iron, salmon, caramel, fire, water, shore, data, ruin, crayon, toilet, New Orleans, pecan, both, again, probably, spitting image, Alabama, lawyer, coupon, mayonnaise, syrup, pajamas, court. Oh, that's it. I was just going to carry on. Now answer these questions. What is it called when you throw toilet paper on a house? We don't do that in the UK, or I certainly didn't as a child, although I've seen on other videos it's called TPing, apparently. What is the bug that when you touch it, it curls into a ball? It's a chuggy pig. Although I think most people call them woodlice, but they're chuggy pigs. What is a bubbly carbonated drink called? Fizzy. What do you call gym shoes? It depends. They're either trainers or daps. If they don't have laces, they're daps. If they have laces, they're trainers. What do you say to address a group of people? I don't. I stay at home and stitch. I don't have friends. What do you call the kind of spider that has an oval-shaped body and extremely long legs? I think it's a daddy long legs. Well, that's what I'd call it anyway. Well, that's what I call them. What do you call your grandparents? Nanny and Donny. My granddad, I had another granddad, obviously. Granddad Fred, but he passed away when I was 10, 11, 10, just before my 11th birthday, I think. And then I never met my other Nan. I don't know what I would have called her. Her name was Ethel. She passed away when I was 6 months old. And then I've got Nanny and Donny on my mum's side, or Nan. I don't really call her Nanny if I want something. And Donny, his real name's Quinn, or Quinton. But when one of my older cousins was young, they were sat there just saying random words like kids do, and he said Donny one day, and my granddad answered, and he's been stuck with it ever since. I've never not called him Donny. What do you call the wheeled contraption in which you carry groceries at a supermarket? It's a trolley. What do you call it when the rain falls while the sun is shining? Somerset. In fact, the sun doesn't really shine, the rain just keeps falling. Anyone who's in the UK will know that Somerset recently, or the last year or so, has done nothing but flood. I mean, I went shopping some point last week, and it was flooding then. I mean, it's June. every time it rains, all the roads flood, and then you try going down the back lanes, and then you get stuck because there's flooding there. We've got Glastonbury Festival on at the moment. That's flooded. I don't know if it's still flooded. It flooded 2 or 3 days ago. And there was actually a really nasty accident with a bloke who caught fire, and he sadly later died in hospital. But the fire brigade couldn't get through to him because all the lanes were full of cars that got stranded and stuck in the flooding. And it's June. It's ridiculous. What is the thing you change the TV channel with? A remote. And that's the talking tag done. Let's get some more coffee in me. Oh, we're only on 10 minutes. That's not too bad. I thought it would take longer. And then once this video is finished, I get to go and stitch. And I didn't get any stitching done yesterday, so I'm looking forward to that. Right, this one is the Stitching Style Tag by Pam Reed. I've got an itchy face. I think it's the hay fever. Favourite fabric, even weave. And then it would be linen, and then Ada. I only ever used to use Ada, and then I tried even weave, fell in love, and then my cat piece, which is now finished, but I'm saving that for another video. Cat Lessons for People, that's on linen, and I really enjoyed it. I really enjoyed the linen, so it's definitely linen or even weave and then linen. And I've also started the mermaid that I said I was going to start in the last video, and that's on linen. And Ada, don't really like it anymore, which is typical because the next 2 projects I'm doing on Ada because I've got the Ada sat here. Never mind. Hoop or frame? For my big piece, for my peacock, I do it. It's on a scroll frame, and that's the only thing I use it for now because it's sewn on and I can't bother to take it off. Everything else, pretty much everything else, I use my 11x11 Q-snap, R&R. And okay, sometimes I'll use a hoop if it's smaller. If it's small enough that it won't fit on the Q-snap, I'll do it on a hoop. And I never stitch in hand, unless it's so small that it'll be finished in seconds, because I get cramp. Do you use a stand or just hold your frame? If I'm using my scroll frame, I use my stand. I've got the, I want to say Stitchmaster floor stand. I'll check that out. I think that's what I have. My Q-snap I stitch in hand. My hoops I stitch in hand. Oh god, I've lost myself. What's your favourite time to stitch? In the morning. I never used to be a morning person. I'm still not really a morning person. But when I stitch in the morning, or like before work basically, I start work at 3. So if I sit down and stitch before work, I get so much more done than I do in the evenings. And in the evenings I'm always wide awake, so I'm not entirely sure why that is. Do you use a printed paper copy of the chart or digital? Paper. I tried digital. I tried Foxit, I think it was, on my iPad. And as soon as you've highlighted a few hundred stitches, it just took longer to highlight because of the lag than it did to stitch. So with my Heaven and Earth design, by the time I'd done 900 odd stitches, it was taking me 10 minutes to highlight 10 stitches, and it was taking me 20 seconds to stitch them, or whatever. And I got frustrated, so I printed all of my charts that I had on my Foxit. I had a few on there, or a few that I was using Foxit for, and I much prefer to just paper copy mark as I go. And if they're really small, then I don't even bother marking it. I just kind of hope for the best. The cat is licking my pyjama bottoms. I don't know why. Oh god, I've lost myself again. Are you a floss licker? Yes. I shouldn't really, because I drink coffee all the time. And so I'm very lucky I've never got any coffee or anything on it. Do you hoard or buy supplies as needed? A bit of both. If I've got money, then I buy things I don't need. If we haven't got money, like at the moment, when my partner's changed jobs and we haven't got enough money to pay the bills this month, because he's gone from weekly pay to monthly pay. That's the only problem. There's no change in money really, a bit more, depending on the hours. If he does more hours than he's contracted to, then he'll get a lot more. But it's the weekly to monthly pay. All of our direct debits are spread out across the month because he was paid weekly, and now we need to try and rearrange them all and try and survive a whole month, pay all the bills, the rent on half a month's wages, which is what he'll get at the end of this month, which will be nice. Where am I? What is your, oh dear, my iPad doesn't like me today. What is your favourite floss? DMC, I suppose. I don't really use hand-dyed flosses. The Cat Lessons for People had Classic Colourworks and Weeks Dye Works in it. They were quite nice to use. I prefer the Classic Colourworks to the Weeks Dye Works. And the Magical Creatures calendar, that has Weeks Dye Works. I think only Weeks Dye Works in it. I've tried a couple of Jodrey Designs threads as well, but overall I'd say DMC. I like my DMC. And it's cheap. Well, cheaper. Not very cheap in the UK. Are you a serial starter or do you have a whip at a time? I used to do one at a time. I wouldn't say I'm a serial starter. At the moment, I think that's one of the further questions down. Yeah. I wouldn't say I'm a serial starter. Do you have more FFOs or UFOs? Definitely FFOs. Do you watch TV while stitching? I do. I either watch TV or Flosstube or films or Netflix. I had to watch something. I didn't stitch yesterday at all. And the main reason for that was because in the evening, when I finally got time to stitch, the Sky wouldn't work and the internet wouldn't work, so I didn't stitch. Sorry about that. Wessex Water just turned up to read my water meter, which couldn't have been the best, or wasn't the best time. I didn't even know they were coming, so that was a nice surprise. So I've got to try and remember where I was. Do you mostly stitch alone, or do you ever get together with someone to stitch? I mostly stitch alone, but I sometimes get together with friends to stitch. Hang on, I'm going to shut this curtain if I can. Because I look a bit like a ghost. Do you like to experiment and alter things with your charts, or do you stitch them just as written? I basically stitch them as written. Occasionally I change some of the threads. Like the mermaid that I'm doing at the moment, I had nearly all but not quite all of the threads, so the ones I didn't have, I just swapped them out as close as I could. Do you bobbinate floss or not? I do. I bobbinate all of my floss. Do you start a project in the middle of your fabric or at the corner? Mostly in the middle. My Heaven and Earth design I've started in the corner. Magical Creatures calendar, I started that in the corner. But apart from that, I think I've started everything from the middle. I've lost myself again. Do you have a whip rotation? I don't. I just stitch what I fancy, which is why this week so far I finished the cats the day I did my last video, and then I started a small piece with a friend, and I started the mermaid all on the same day, and I've only stitched the mermaid. That's all I have done. Do you use a timekeeper to keep track of how long it takes for you to complete a project? Not really. I have a spreadsheet on my computer so I know how many days I work on it, or even if it's only a part of the day, but that's about as close as I get. Do you use the parking technique? I do with my Heaven and Earth design. I've only got one on the go. Apart from that, I haven't used it for anything else. Do you keep your orts? I do. They're here actually, under my coffee table. Those are just from this year. I made a Christmas decoration last year and used all of my orts from that I'd saved from last year. So hopefully I'll stuff something with them, otherwise I'll just keep jars of them. Do you like to have a snack or drink while stitching? I don't really snack whilst I'm eating. If I'm hungry, I'll go and get something to eat, but I won't eat it whilst I'm stitching. Oh, cat. No. The cat's trying to climb on my cross stitch. I do drink whilst I'm stitching, mainly coffee, but I try not to drink it. I don't drink it over the cross stitch. I move the cross stitch, and because I stitch with my Q-snap in hand, I just put it down and have a drink. And then get through this a lot quicker than I thought. And then the last tag is the For Reals Though tag by Adele McNaughton. Try and get some coffee in me. I'm just looking forward to stitching before work, and now the other cats come over. Oh, I'm like crazy cat lady right now. Right, the first question. For reals though, what level of stitcher do you consider yourself to be? I'm not a beginner. I wouldn't. Like intermediate, I suppose. I'd class advanced as doing all these fancy stitches, whereas I do cross stitch and fractionals, half stitches, back stitch, French knots. I've never done like any of the, like you get like the daisy stitches and things like that. I've never done any of those. I've got cat hair in my eye, I think. It could just be the hay fever. For reals though, how many whips and UFOs do you honestly have? This includes things you gave up on and threw out. Whips, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yes, 6 whips. And UFOs, I have 1, 2, 3. I don't have 3. One of them is the Harry Potter magical spells, which I was going to throw out, but I was told I wasn't allowed. I really don't enjoy stitching it. There was a dolphin kit my friend gave me, and I hated it. I started it, hated it, threw it out. And then the other one was a Stony Creek. It was a Mustang, and I had stitched most of it and discovered that the fabric wasn't big enough and that it wasn't actually going to fit on the fabric, and so I had to throw that one out, and I haven't restitched it. Was stitching it for my ex, so I need to restitch it for myself really. Reels though, are you enabled easily? I didn't think I was until I met Sal, and within talking to her for 5 minutes, I was ready for a battle on eBay to win the ultimate fantasy, cross-stitch fantasy magazine. And she keeps, dropped my iPad. She keeps showing me books and things that she's got, Joan Elliott chats. I'm like, no, I'm going to end up buying them. For reals though, do you suffer from SADD, Stitcher's Attention Deficit Disorder? I don't think so. No. Have you ever finished a full coverage project, e.g. Hay, Tilton Truck Crafts, etc.? If your answer was no, how far have you got? No. I'm stitching my first full coverage piece at the moment, which is a Heaven and Earth design, and I am almost finished the first page, so not very far. For reals though, do you enjoy confetti? No. Sometimes I get bored of stitching in big blocks. I like in between. I don't really like confetti and I don't like stitching in blocks. For reals though, how many finishes do you have this year so far, and how does this compare to your whip UFO number from question 2? I think I've just had finish number 15 of this year, so more than I've got on the go, and more than I've given up and thrown out. For reals though, are you bothered by the answer in the last question? Would you rather have a smaller or larger number? I'm not bothered. There's more than one a month this year, more than two a month, so I'm not bothered. For reals though, do you have any perhaps embarrassing dirty little stitchy secrets? I don't think so. I mean, as dirty as it gets, I think, is probably just colour matching some of the threads in cross stitches from magazines when I don't have all of the colours. I mean, I'm working on getting a full set of DMC, but at the moment, with no money, or we haven't, like with money being messed up, I can't afford to buy it all the time. So, colour match. I've got quite a few threads, but just not every single one. And I think that's about as dirty as it gets. For reals though, I dare you to show me your messiest back. And that's my peacock. I'm not bothered. It's the front that matters. She needs to get finished soon. I just can't bring myself to stitch on. So that's that. That is all 4 tags. All done. I'm not sure when this video will be up, so it'll be a nice surprise. I might be able to get it edited and up today. But I want to try and get as much stitching done as I can, so we'll see. Hopefully I will be back. Well, I was planning on trying to do one a week, but as I have only stitched on, well, technically 3 things, I have 1 finished, 2 new starts, and that's it. I don't really see any point. I don't have any stash or anything. So I might do it the middle of next week. Again, it'll be a nice surprise for everyone whenever the video pops up. But I hope you have a lovely day. I'm going to go and get stitching, and I will see you all soon.